We could have just not done it. I would have been fine with it. All right.
Yeah, that's far away. Like I said, there's nothing other than just a chance to connect with.
So, 2 days ahead of the NHL, well, sorry, not 2 days, it's tomorrow, but the NHL draft being tomorrow, how do you feel about the format with everything working remotely instead of being in person?
Yeah, definitely different when you're used to going to the draft for a long time, and obviously it's been that way. I'm kind of anxious, looking forward to seeing how it goes tomorrow.
Are you using this opportunity at all to bring your coaches in and have a bit of a meeting, though, a debrief and a look ahead at all?
Yeah, we've met the last few days, meeting today, heading into the draft, and then we'll probably sit again next week after free agency just to talk about our team a little more, and then break again, and so it's good. It's a good time to get together and analyze things from last year. We've had some time to decompress and think about our group and where we can improve. Really, that's the whole point of this week's meetings.
Not to go back to the draft, but what are some things you enjoyed about being on location and maybe meeting a prospect in person versus what you'll miss from working remotely?
Yeah, I think you get to see a lot of people, a lot of friends around the league. The coaches' conference is there, so that was always something you look forward to. But as far as coaches go, there's not a whole lot going on for us to do at the draft. But it is a nice time where everyone gets together in one place, and you run into a lot of people, and it's always a lot of fun.
Do you sit in on meetings, or do you have any input on players, prospects?
Draftables?
Yeah.
No. I pop in and bring in some Timbits and wish them luck.
Do you have any conversations with Steve, like if he's talking about acquiring a player or anything like that?
Yeah, Steve and I have a great working relationship. We talk daily, 2-3 times a day about things, and it's the same thing during the season, and obviously leading up to July 1, where we talk a lot, but that's nothing new for us.
When you walk in those meetings, how big is the Timbit box?
Well, I brought a 20-pack today, and it was not near enough. Yeah, they don't have 40s.
Assorted flavors?
Assorted. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, we focused a lot about Claude Giroux and him waiting on whatever that contract will be like.
Yeah.
Can you put into words how important he is to your locker room dynamic and how much the players look up to him?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I hear it. I was guessing I'd be asked about G today, and I think every team probably has someone, 1, 2, 3. Some teams have more guys that are being talked about, and G's been a great player for us. From a coach's standpoint, I want him back. I also understand the business side of the game. G's been here through 3 years now of watching the team grow, and I'm just hoping G wants to be back and is back, and hopefully they figure things out. And again, that's between him and Steve, but hopefully, like I said, he's enjoyed his time here. He's enjoyed where we're going, and wants to be back, and I want him back.
You've sat where he's sitting right now as a player trying to negotiate. As a player, he probably understands. Like, he's been through this stuff.
My negotiations were a little different than G's, I can tell you that.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I do. And that's where I don't try to, I've seen it for a long time where players, they get to that point, and G's at the point in his career where, he's played a long time. He's been a great player in the league, and he's still a good player. And, he's got decisions to make. From a coaching standpoint, I've had great discussions with G over last season. I know how bad he wants to win, and I think he's proud of where the team has gone. And, my hope is that he wants to continue down the path of pushing our team to be better and be a Senator.
Some things that you learned over last season as a coach, I know you talked about being reflective and always kind of analyzing your own coaching and how to improve. Like, what are some things that stand out?
Well, I think I think you just learn a lot without knowing it. And, you know, the one thing I find myself saying a lot about our team just over the last, 2 months since the season ends, where people ask you about your team or your season. I thought we had a good year. We still want to be better. And as coaches, it's going to be our job to push our team to be better next year. But I also talk about our team in a way that maybe I haven't with other teams. They're coachable. They're very coachable, and they respect coaching. You can be very honest with our players, which isn't always the case, and they will accept criticism, constructive criticism. And for me, I haven't had where I've had a whole team be this coachable, and they're a very enjoyable group to coach. And you know, you can't always say that about every team where to a man we had buy-in from every player, which we're going to need to move forward. Like, status quo isn't going to be good enough. We're challenging our players to improve and come back better, and that's not just, you know, the bottom of our lineup. That's every player on our team and pushing them to be better, and I think they're all capable of it.
Does that change for you as a coach? Like last year, you came in and you wanted to bring in the defensive principles from day one to get this team to the playoffs, and now they've become a playoff team. Obviously, you want to make it and go farther and do better. Like, how does that shift in terms of your coaching style heading into next season?
Well, I think there's a certain, you know, we wanted to be, better defensively, but also, you know, we've talked a lot about team identity, how we want to play the game, and there's a certain style or presence that we want to have within our game, and you know, I think we took a big step in that direction. I think it's winning hockey. You watch playoff hockey, how hard and physical it is. You watch what teams have success. And we want players that are very passionate about the game, that they like working, they like competing. And, you know, that a lot of times will separate a team from winning and losing. And that also brings a commitment to your game as well when you have that, when you really love it. And, you know, you look at the Panthers, and, you know, they're a great example of that. And I think we've taken a step in that direction, and we have to continue to push.
We talked to, I hate to even do this to you, but we talked to Steve yesterday about 5-on-5 scoring.
Yeah.
Which is something you heard about all season. But can that improvement come in within it if, let's say,
Things stay the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what we're looking at right now as coaches, and studying our offense and how we can be better, but also not just, you know, you got to coach the team you have as well. And I think there's certain teams that are built to play a certain style, and you can't just mimic another team because you like how they play. I like the way we played last year. I do. I think we can score more. I think we're capable of it. Our shooting percentage was low, but I think there's also areas that we can practice and change or tweak that'll help us score without just giving up more. I think that's the key: is how do you create more and give up less, and that's ultimately part of that is system play, what coaches put together, how you teach it as a coach. The players that you have, and you know, ultimately, you know, the best players are capable of doing a lot.
This might be a rudimentary way of putting it, but you weren't trying to scuttle offense last year with your approach.
No, not at all.
But do you
I
think
like
your
scoring
players?
goals.
No. But do you think your players got caught up in trying to play defense?
Not at all. No. We played good hockey, like sound 200-foot hockey. I think, you know, I don't think the Florida Panthers go into games saying we're just going to try to defend. They're just playing good, strong, solid hockey, and that ultimately wins. you can't just say, hey, we're going to try to win 6-2. You know, every coach is going to talk about playing a 200-foot game. At the end of the day, I thought we could have scored a lot more. Our shooting percentage was very low, but you know, there's certain parts of our game that I think we can work on over the course of training camp, but it starts now with us talking about it, and you know, I'd like to see us score a little more, but I don't want us to start giving up a lot more either. And you know, it's no coach sits there and says, hey, I just want to play defensive hockey. Like, that's, we are not doing that. Yeah. We want to play a 200-foot game, a committed game, a fast game, an aggressive game. We want to defend hard. We want to score a lot of goals. And, you know, part of that is, did our guys have to change their game? I don't think so. You know, we maybe didn't blow the zone quite as much as they did years past. But that's, you know, some teams play that way, some teams don't. You know, you look at the 4 teams that, you know, made the Final Four, the semifinals, and they all had a little different look to them. You know, and there's not one way to play that wins, but I do know the team that's been to the finals the last 3 years has had success playing a certain way, and yet the team that's lost in the finals, they've had a hell of a year too, and they play a little bit different game than Florida. So it's maximizing what you have in your room.
I know players are ultimately going to dictate where they play in the lineup, but I'm curious about what you think with Fabian Zetterlund now that you've seen him play the games he got in the regular season and the playoffs, and he's signed for the next couple of years. What do you think his fit and role is with this team, knowing what you've seen of him already?
Well, I like him as a player, first and foremost. I think he's a good hockey player. Glad that he signed. I think he played well for us. Gives us just another option. I'm definitely not going to sit here today and say I forecast him playing here. You know, our whole team, if I'm being honest, like I probably know who our top 3, who our centermen are. I don't have any real combinations. You know, I like the Amadio Greg line last year, but maybe that changes. I want to see all our players come back better, including him. I want to see improvements in his game. He's going to dictate how much he plays and where he plays, much like any other winger. Drake's going to dictate where he plays. Brady's going to dictate where he plays. You know, but I want to see improvements first and foremost, and I think any coach will tell you he hopes he has 12 to 14 hard decisions to make come training camp, and you want to have options. You also hope maybe there's a young player that makes big improvements over the summer and surprises us. So, you know, I just want a lot of good players that can play anywhere. And where he plays, he'll tell me where he plays or how much he plays.
Sorry, because it's the draft and Yakimchuk was chosen first last year.
Yeah.
How can this year have helped him and what he was able to accomplish in training camp last year? Because you easily could have kept him.
Yeah.
Sending him back was the right thing, but you also could have easily kept him. How will this 12-month span or 10-month span have helped him?
Well, another year of growth, hopefully getting stronger. He definitely surprised us last year in training camp. And I hope we see similar, you know, production or play out of him, which forces our hand to make a hard decision. You know, going back to junior in that 19-year-old year after having such a good camp probably was a little difficult at the beginning for him, is my guess. But I know he's had good direction from the people around him, messaging what he needs to work on, what it's going to take to play at the next level. And, you know, he's one of those guys that I'm excited to see where he's at as far as his training, how he's changed, how strong he is. That's going to, you know, a lot of these decisions that you have to make, it comes down to the player putting in the work and how committed they are. And I think he's due to come into town here soon. I'm excited to see where he's at. And he'll kind of tell us where he is maturity-wise, and then you're going to have to see him on the ice.
The expectations for you guys last year was to make the playoffs. You accomplished that goal. Where would you say expectations are in your mind now for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know last year if we actually sat here and said that was our expectation. I think last year our goal was expectation was to get better, improve, make our team more competitive, and goal was to make the playoffs. And really, that isn't changing. Like, we need to be better first and foremost, and that starts with the players coming back. I've kind of said before, there's 3 ways of getting better, and you have free agency, you have young guys making the team, and you have the players on your team improving. And I think, the onus is going to flip still to the players to get better and put the work in. You can go through our lineup, and I think every player is capable of getting better, minus a couple guys. A couple of the older guys, we know what they are. They've been in the league a long time. It's up to them to still improve their game and their quickness. And, you talk about David and G, and, but even Shabby's been in the league a while. I expect Shabby to be better next year. Put in the work, come back a better hockey player, and because that's how we're going to get better.
What's the challenge, I guess, or for you as a coach, when the team is quite young, looking at the playoffs, most of the players first time.
Yeah.
What's that challenge of trying to, win for the now, but also develop those guys where they do take the next step forward as well?
Well, I think the challenge just goes is that communication level of and buy-in from your players. And I've said it before, they're coachable and they want to win. And I do believe that through talking to them, Jeremy having conversation with them, or right now in the off season, what can you do to be better? And it's get your body ready to improve, and that's getting stronger. And for some guys, it's still working on certain parts of their game on the ice, and that takes a commitment. It takes hard work, and it's not just going to the gym for 2 hours and then going golfing the rest of the day. Like, if you want to be great, and be great in the off season. Don't just come to training camp and get ready to go.
Last year, I think you went to the World Championships and met up with Kachuk. Have you done anything like that this summer?
I've talked to most of all our players, met with them at the end of the year, then did follow-ups 2 to 3 weeks later. Sometimes at the end of the year, it's so fresh that I think it's not as productive. I like to get away and then check in with the guys, and I'll probably check in with them again after July 1, like in the first week, and just really, remind them of what we are as a team, what we want our team identity to be, and also how each player can improve. And I think they all can improve, but all of them in different ways.
What have been your impressions of working under Michael Andlauer the year and a month you've coached this team?
Yeah, it's been, much like I talk about the team, most enjoyable, coaching experience I've had with a group of players. I would say the exact same thing with ownership and management. Very caring, supportive. Everything's about the team, and it's been a great year and awesome environment to work in.
How does he compare to some of the other owners you may have worked with?
Yeah, it's all different, and I don't want to compare, everyone. I think everyone, when I was in Vancouver, working with Francesco was good too. It was great, and he's a caring guy, wants the team to win badly. But the overall experience last season was a great experience for me, and I'm really excited about the future of our group. And and you can hear it with other organizations. Them talk about how they run their organization and how bad they want to win, and they're all on the same page. And I really feel that we have that here. And because if you don't, things can kind of go astray. and I definitely the alignment is here, top to bottom. Communication is second to none, and it's important.
Aside from Zetterlund, Dylan Cousins was also a deadline acquisition.
Yeah.
What do you need to expect to see from him next year? What's the progression?
Yeah, I think he's another good example of a player that can improve. I mean, he showed glimpses of being a dominating player. It's always different when you come in to a new organization, especially that first time that you're traded. That one usually leaves a mark, and you're never quite yourself. And I think I felt that way with Dylan a little bit. I thought he played well for us. I think he'd agree there's probably still another level. And you saw, like I said, he had games where he was dominant. And, I'm hoping that we see another step from him. And he's not the only guy. Like, I think from Timmy to Brady all the way down, even Sandy, like all those guys, Linus, everyone can improve and have a better season next year. And that's going to be a big part of us improving.